I find that even for some of those things where you would traditionally say, okay, well, this one might not be as easy to measure, there's still a way to infuse some aspect of data or measurement into it. You just might look at a different set of tools. For some things, you measure using a ruler. For some things, you might use a measuring cup, right? You don't want to use the same tool for every single thing.
Hi, I'm Jason Harris, and you're listening to Soul and Science. Fast forward your marketing mind in about 20 minutes. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we're joined by Ciara Anfield, Chief Membership and Marketing Officer for Sam's Club. Her Harvard MBA education led her into marketing roles at household names like JP Morgan Chase and Johnson & Johnson. She is now in her 15th year at Sam's Club and oversees a broad portfolio of responsibilities that collectively make up Sam's Club end-to-end member strategy. Over the years, she's helped elevate the Sam's Club brand through a variety of innovative programs and events, including helping develop Sam's Club's first ever big game spot, which was much more than just a 30-second ad and actually resulted in their highest acquisition program to date. In this episode, you'll learn, although it may sound simple, but by putting your customer first, you can accelerate every other part of your business. You'll learn to carve out time to be strategic and methodical in your thinking. It's too easy to let the urgency of a big project move you forward without deeper reflection. And you'll learn what she believes in, which is to have the audacity to take risks, be bold. Marketing is still one of the few places in business where risks are actually welcome. All right, let's dive right in and welcome Ciara. I always ask this question to start off. How did you get into the world of marketing? Obviously, you went and got an MBA. Did you know at that point that marketing was your direction, or were you a happenstance marketer? How did you get into it?
Yes, no, that's a great question. I actually went back to get my MBA with the intent of doing a little bit of a career transition. So I did internships throughout college with Chase Manhattan Bank and then ultimately joined JP Morgan Chase full time. Coming out, was in more of a project management technology type role in my early years there, and eventually found myself in a product management / marketing role within their credit card division. And then they split those roles up and they gave me an option. They said, do you want to do the marketing side or do you want to do the product management side? And I knew at that point I wanted to do the marketing side. So I did that for a little while, said, hey, how do I do more of this? How do I do more of this even beyond the financial services industry? And that's what led to my decision to go back to business school. And as soon as I graduated later on that year, I joined Walmart.
So literally your job forced you to take a fork in the road and decide which one you like better. When you went to get your MBA, were you still working?
No, I took off and went full time.
You went full time. And were you thinking financial services is my background, I want to stay there? Or were you like, no, I definitely want to do a different industry?
I knew that I wanted to have an opportunity to have a long and growing career in marketing and doing a different kind of it. So I think initially I expected to go more the CPG route, because when people go to business school and go try and focus on marketing, a lot of them go into CPG. But then I got an opportunity to interview with Walmart. And at the time, I remember thinking, oh, no, I hadn't heard much about retail marketing. And the more that I learned, the more my curiosity was piqued, and it led to me coming here full time. Yeah.
And you've been in the Walmart ecosystem for like 14 years, 15 years, something like that?
Yes. This will be year 15 this fall.
So it really stuck.
It did. The great thing about having a career here is there's so much opportunity. So when I came out of business school, I came into the Walmart marketing organization and did a lot of different roles within that function for about 5 years. But then I had an opportunity to go do strategy and work across the segments and look at opportunities for us to leverage best practices that we took from one segment into others. And that was a totally different type of role that really gave a 30,000 foot view of what's happening within the organization. And then coming out of that, I was just reflecting on a lot of the things that I learned in that role where I got to hear some of our leaders in the company make decisions. And a lot of the decisions that they made, they bring it back always to how is it going to impact the customer? How is it going to impact our associates? And I really wanted to get some of that frontline experience for myself. So that led to my decision to try and navigate my career into operations. I became a market manager and went out and managed neighborhood markets for Walmart for 3 years.
Did you know that was sort of a stepping stone? Like, I'm going to do this to get that experience, and then I'm going to move deeper into the organization?
Not really. No, not at that time. It wasn't like a master plan. And I think if some people, were asking today, or you sometimes get that question from associates where it's like, should I go and do this so that I can then go and do that? Like, this wasn't a CMO career path by any means. I think what's driven me has been more the desire to learn and to say, what do I want to know next? What else can I learn that can help me serve the organization, help me be a better leader? And for me, in this space, being in a retail company, I felt like it was important for me to learn what it takes to run great stores and to have more interaction with our associates and with our customers. And then I did come back into marketing after that 3 years and had a totally different perspective. And it stays with me to this day. Even in this role, I feel like it's changed the way I look at things. It changes the way that I also interact with my peers and collaborate with them because I feel like I have a lot more empathy. I know what it feels like. I've had the constraints, I've had the challenges. And so it allows you to be a better cross-functional partner.
And more realistic because the decisions you're making in a boardroom that directly impacts the associates that are on the floor. And you've had that experience. So you know how those decisions impact. Yeah, that's awesome. What's Ciara's special gift? What are you really, really good at in the world of marketing?
I think if I had to name a strength or a superpower, it would probably be curiosity. And I feel like it translates so well into the world of marketing because I really do want to know, how do people think? How are they going to react? And the number of questions that just pop into my mind automatically, the search for the answers of those are what really helps drive a lot of the work, a lot of the intention to get deeper and more relevant insights to the members that we're serving and making you develop more relevant and efficient, effective work.
A lot of marketers and companies that are brand building, they think about the customer maybe second or third, but I think putting the customer first, sometimes we gloss over that. We forget about that. And I think that's a really important tenet to always keep in mind is how it impacts the customer.
Absolutely. At Sam's Club, we pride ourselves on having a member-obsessed culture. It's actually the first part of our flywheel, right? And we believe from there, if you focus on the member, if you obsess on what are their needs, how you can better serve them, it really is the linchpin that puts everything else in place, accelerates every other part of our business.
Most of the folks that come on the podcast are CMOs, and you're a CMMO.
Yeah.
So that extra M, tell me what that means and how that comes to life in your job.
Yes, that extra M of membership. I love it. I love that it's a part of the role. It means that within our team, we have responsibility for our membership strategy, our membership acquisitions, and our membership end-to-end experience. And so it includes anything that's done to acquire and retain our customers, as well as contact center, member and business intelligence. All of those things are kind of wrapped up in that additional end.
Wow, that's a lot. How is your team structured? How many people are on your team? And do you have like a VP of membership, VP of marketing underneath you?
Yes, that is very much how it's structured. There is a VP of membership, there's a VP of marketing. There's also different parts of our team. So membership and business intelligence, contact center, marketing operations, and we have our Sam's Club Creative Studio, as well as personalization and CRM, which those are the different functions that report to me.
You got to be very organized. How do you figure out what's the most important thing to tackle in a particular moment? Do you feel like the job it's quick and urgent, or do you feel like it's more methodical and laid out?
I feel like I have to force that methodical piece into it. Otherwise, the quick and urgent, no matter what role you're in, it will have a way of trying to consume you. But when I'm doing my job at my best, I find myself carving out that time needed to be strategic and focus on the main priorities. And I think I've had to become very intentional about that. A couple months into the role, started realizing like the time was just disappearing. And I ended up making a what my perfect week I thought would look like. And it was representative, but like, here's how much time I thought I would spend connecting with my cross-functional partners. Here's how much time I would spend in developing different members of my team. And not that we actually ever stick to it, but at least I know at a high level, where do I think that balance is of where I should be? And so it is a broader role, but one thing that I really do love about it is that it includes that P&L aspect that sometimes you don't always get within a typical CMO role. I am responsible for a very significant line of membership income, and that changes the dynamic at the leadership table as well. When marketing isn't just an expense function that's spending money, but you're actually contributing to the bottom line. So
I think that's really smart because marketing should always be looked at as a growth engine.
yes.
I mean, it's really a driver of the business. And so there's no growth or drive of the business without it.
Absolutely.
While we're on this topic, I usually kind of ask this towards the end, but because we were talking about how you manage your time, if you have to make a really tough decision or crack a really hard problem, is there somewhere you go to do that, or a methodology you have that works really well?
Generally, what works best for me, or what I strive for, is trying to include other voices in that conversation. So it's not just, and I think this is probably counter to my nature, counter to my Berkman. I would say my Berkman stressor would probably have me going more by myself to figure it out. But I've tried to become very intentional in terms of actually use that as a moment to seek diverse opinions and hear other thoughts and really get wisdom from the collective body that helps lead our team.
How do you guys think, because you went from Walmart to Sam's Club, can you kind of tell me a little bit about the differences between the two and how you guys think about, I mean, I know the basic differences, but just how you guys kind of parse out the Walmart, Sam's Club sort of differentiation?
As you know, Sam's Club is a membership model. And when I think about our primary member that we're targeting, it's a group that we like to call a happy host. And what we know about them is that they tend to over-index in these activities that just bring people together, whether that is something that they're doing within their home and being a center for their extended family to come gather, or their neighbors and friends to come gather, or whether it's something that they're doing out in the community where their kids are on the soccer team and they're bringing snacks. Their need to be a part of the membership club is driven from a need to make sure you always have enough. And so that is one of the main differences in terms of how we think about who we're targeting and who we're serving within Sam's Club. It's thinking about how do we better serve this happy host and make sure that they're able to get the things that they need, because they're in turn trying to take care of so many people around them.
Without giving away a secret sauce, or give away a secret sauce if you want, what tactics have you implemented that you feel that have been game changers for connecting with the happy hosts?
Yeah, I think when we look at how we're connecting with the happy hosts, we're on a journey. And where we are right now, and one of the things that we're continuing to put more focus on, is how we connect with them in a more personalized manner. Being able to help those members find exactly the things that are most relevant to them at the time that they're looking for it is the secret sauce. And that's something that I won't say that we're all the way to bright yet in terms of our aspirations and what we want to do, but we're continuing to make progress and take huge strides towards that. The other thing that we've worked on a lot over the past year is meeting the member where they are and talking to them in the way that they want to receive and hear the message. And sometimes as brands, we can get kind of caught in our own heads about, I want to tell you what's great about my brand in the way that I want to tell you, because that's how we talk about it. But the reality is sometimes the member just wants to hear it in their own language, or they want to talk about what they want to talk about. And so we've had some fun with that over the past year with some of our activations with Kevin Hart, with our Merry Like This holiday campaign, and having a song made that was actually streamed on listening services, the Merry Like This song by Carve. It's just a lot of fun that we've been able to have in connecting with members in new and different ways.
And do you take, global approach, or do you take a local approach when you think about marketing?
We actually do both. So we have some teams that are focused more on our national messaging. And then we have a team that focuses more on local markets, local opportunity markets. And there could be a number of reasons why we might focus in on one of those local areas. But there we try to deep dive in first with the member and understand if there's some challenges or opportunities or growth potential there, what's driving that, and then tailor the message to that. Tailor the work, the channel, the mix, everything to what we're learning based off of that local market.
And looking at the size of the business, I think it was like 73 or 74 billion.
84 billion as of the end of last fiscal, yes.
Is that daunting to think about how massive it is? How do you kind of think about the marketing for something that large?
I would say you try not to think about it at a large level like that, but it focuses back down to the member, right? And connecting with each member or each member at a specific moment and taking that one bit at a time.
So speaking of marketing, you aired your first Super Bowl spot. What led to that moment? What made you think it was the right time to do that? And what did you learn from that experience?
So I have to give a lot of credit for that to my predecessor, Tony Rogers, who was the CMMO here at Sam's Club at that time, in terms of having the vision for that Super Bowl spot and saying that it was Sam's Club's time to be in it. I would also say that just in understanding where we were at that moment, there's been a lot of work to evolve Sam's Club as a brand and help evolve and advance our identity in terms of who we are, what we stand for. There was a point, I think if you went back, people might have said as a brand, it felt a little old, a little stale, not as fresh and relevant and current. And there's been so much work that's been done, not just in terms of the marketing, but when you think about the assortment, the way we show up for our members, and you think about the technology aspects, we are fundamentally a different club. And it just felt like the big game was a great time to showcase that. And so I'm glad that we had the opportunity to show up in that way. And the Heartbeat and VMLY and our teams were great partners in helping us tell that story.
That's great. And do you feel like that, I know we probably came on while I was in motion and, worked on it. Did you feel like that was a big bet that paid off? It was worth it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I had already been on prior to us starting to work to create it in that role of the VP of marketing. So it was still something that I heavily had a hand in the development of. But one of the pieces that we were really proud of was this extension that we came up with, which was to say, how can we make it bigger than the commercial, right? You got 30 seconds in that moment. But one of the things we were able to activate was this yard line promotion where we said our spot was airing right at the 2-minute warning. And we promoted that whatever yard line the ball was on at the moment that our spot aired was the price that we were going to make the membership for like the next several days. And there's all types of conversations that happen around that, which is like, are you sure you want to do that? And that's a big chance. And what would be the right actual yard line that would make that work out well? And so there was lots of analysis that went into it, obviously none that you could actually influence. But it just so worked out that when our spot aired, the ball was on the 8-yard line, and that led to the $8 promotion that we did. And it turned out to be, at that time, the highest acquisition program that we had ever done.
Wow, that's amazing.
It was fantastic. And we continued to build on that and said, hey, I think we found something there that really worked. And we leveraged it again for the 4th of July when we did another promo along those lines.
Do you rely, or does the organization rely more on making decisions with your heart or making decisions with your head? Do you guys rely hardcore on like insights and data from your members to make decisions? And are you constantly doing research, or are you like, I think our team's been here, we know what our members want, and we're going to go with our gut?
I think it's definitely skewed a little more on the head side. We have so much data and insight around our members. And, going back to that earlier conversation, that curiosity means you always want to know more. And I find that even for some of those things where you would traditionally say, okay, well, this one might not be as easy to measure, there's still a way to infuse some aspect of data or measurement into it. You just might look at a different set of tools. It's almost like measurement in and of itself. For some things, you measure using a ruler. For some things, you might use a measuring cup, right? You don't want to use the same tool for every single thing. But there's a large spectrum of things we can measure.
What advice do you have for future CMOs out there?
I think my one piece of advice would be just to have the audacity, right? And sometimes we talk about that in a negative sense of, oh, someone, I can't believe they had the audacity to do this or to do that. But really what it boils down to is taking bold risks, taking big chances. And we have to discourage ourselves sometimes from playing small. And I think the more you can learn to do that and get comfortable with risk and taking that chance, the better off you'll be. There's a lot of different seats around the leadership table. And when you think about the role that each one of those plays, the CMO is one where I think there's a little bit of an expectation that you're going to be a risk taker, that you're going to bring something different and new and some innovation that maybe you might not have to get from every other seat, right? You certainly, if there's a place where you want to see some creativity, you're generally better served to see that for marketing than finance. So
you don't want your CFO taking a lot of chances.
Yeah. So in keeping with training yourself for that role, start taking those chances early.
That's great advice. Do you have a burning business issue that keeps you up at night? Do you have a challenge that you think about constantly that you're trying to solve for?
Yeah, I think it's more broad than like a specific set of like business issues or challenges, but probably more in line with leadership. And in this role, it's just more important to me now than ever to make sure that the way that we're developing the team really sets us up for continued and future success. And that means everything from the skills and competencies we're building to the culture we're creating. And so that's the thing that kind of stays in my head. I won't say that it keeps me up at night because I generally sleep pretty well, but
Good. I'm glad to hear that. All right. Who are some of your role models that have guided you throughout your career?
I would say two role models that I would love to call out here. One I just mentioned previously was Tony Rogers, was my predecessor, who brought me over to Sam's Club, and I had an opportunity to work with over on the Walmart side as well, and has been just a great mentor of mine. And then I'd also say Barb Messing, who is the CMO at Roblox now and was CMO at Walmart previously, who she was responsible for helping, I think, believe in me and provide one of the critical promotions as you go into officer level. So when when I went back to Walmart marketing, I was a senior director, and it was her belief in me that helped propel me into the officer ranks.
Was there any leadership style or skill that you learned from either of them?
Man, there's so much, I think, but probably one thing that I could say is consistent and that I continue to really try and demonstrate is just that authenticity. You can't do it like just like someone else did. That's not necessarily going to be true to you. You have to be your authentic self as a leader. And that means sometimes you've got to show a little bit more of how you feel and how you care about people, how you care about the people that you work with as well. Because we sometimes talk about it in a sense of the more direct aspects of it, but being a full and open and honest leader is part of that authenticity as well.
Do you have a favorite quote or mantra that you always go back to or think about?
Yeah, I think my favorite quote would probably be the change you want to see in the world, from Gandhi. And I apply it at work. I apply it at home. I think, whether you're talking about a work situation of, sometimes you think, well, why isn't someone doing something about this? You can be the one, do it. You don't have to wait for someone else. You can be the one to pick it up. And I remember years ago, I would sometimes think I love the nostalgia, especially like the nostalgic TV shows and movies. And I've always thought, oh, I would love to be in one of those neighborhoods where like the neighbors bring, a treat or like a baked good when a new neighbor moves in. And like, I would lament like, oh yeah, like why don't people still do that? I was like, no, you can do that. If you started it, if you're the neighbor that does it, then maybe you will be in a neighborhood that does that.
I love that. I love that quote. And I think what you're bringing up is this idea of instead of wishing things were different, you can actually model the behavior for things to become different. And I think that is really powerful. I think it's too easy to forget that. So it's a good one to like always rejigger in your mind. How would you describe, in one word, how do you describe your business style?
Real.
Okay. God goes back to the authentic thing. Do you want to direct folks to either learn more about Sam's Club or learn more about you? Is there a place where they can go to find out more info?
Yeah, they can definitely follow us on all of our channels at Sam's Club. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. And if they want to follow me, you can follow me on LinkedIn.
All right, perfect. Well, I think we learned a lot about Sam's Club, and the member obsessed culture really came through in our conversation. I think your advice about have the audacity, don't play small and take chances, I think is really good advice. And then this idea of, you said real, you also said authenticity, but being open and honest and vulnerable and being yourself is, I think, a great leadership trait that people should continually kind of think about and focus on. Well, Ciara, thank you for being on the podcast. It's been great getting to know you, getting to know more about the future of Sam's Club, and we really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jason. It's been a pleasure.
Soul and Science is a Mechanism podcast produced by Maggie Bowles, Ryan Tillotson, Tyler Nielsen, Emma Swanson, and Lily Jablonski. The show is edited by Daniel Ferreira with theme music by Kyle Merritt. And I'm your host, Jason Harris.